Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farooq Patafi. First of all, viewers, Happy New Year to you. Now, today we are going to talk about politics of Pakistan, especially prospectively, because a session of Parliament, both houses of Parliament was called, that has started. We hear that the Army Chief's extension is going to be debated there. There is going to be a bill that the government actually approved in the cabinet today, and in coming days we are going to see how that goes. That is one aspect which is very important. Then there is this environment of political polarization that has continued for quite some time in Pakistan. And pundits keep on telling us that in coming days we are going to see improvement in that environment. How is that possible? We are going to discuss that as well. What exactly to expect from the opposition? Is some kind of deal or some kind of reconciliation initiative is on cards or not? We are going to debate these matters and more. Then there was a recent controversy about NAB amendment ordinance. We will try to do justice to that as well. In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by a political panel. We are joined by Kaisar Ahmed Sheikh Saab, who is a senior MNA of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Shafiq Ahmed Saab, who is a political analyst, a regular on this channel, needs no introduction. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Qazi Ahmed Akbar Saab, a leader of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Let me, with your permission, Sheikh Saab, start with with Qazi Saab. And Qazi Saab, I have to ask you about this manner of calling both sessions of both houses within 24 hours. Why does it give us this impression that the government is improvising?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Farooq. The thing is that basically it is the president's prerogative and he can call the session whenever he deems it appropriate.
Right.
So the question is that, yes, if something is, taken into ordinances, the promulgation of ordinances, then the opposition has an issue with it.
Right.
If we bring it in the House, again, the opposition has an issue with it.
Right.
So, technically speaking, the day the NAB ordinance was, decided by the cabinet and sent to the president, since that day there has been a lot of, hue and cry that the government has made an ordinance factory, and they are not consulting the parliament. Parliament is the supreme institution and things on those lines. So the government decided that, okay, fine, we are going to call the session of both the houses. We'll table both the bills, the Army Amendment Bill and the NAB Ordinance Bill, the Amendment Bill, and we're going to discuss it in detail within the Parliament. So the session was called, and then the opposition started saying that they were called in a very, it was sort of in a very great hurry. And
yeah, but you have to realize, especially when it comes to the upper house of the parliament, that has been convened after 124 days.
Yes, you're right.
That's why people think that on one side, your government actually doesn't take notice of a house for 124 days. And then all of a sudden, within 24 hours, you wanted to meet.
See, the thing is that this is not correct. If the House has not been summoned for 124 days, there's no way we can justify that. Absolutely no way. But, if something wrong is done and now it is being put on the right direction, I think we all should contribute to it. One of the major reasons why our houses have not been working is that the opposition is in no mood, rather was in no mood to sit with the government and, to talk about legislation. The only interest whenever they came to the House was either getting the production orders.
I'm intrigued by your distinction between is and was.
Yes.
Because that means something has shifted.
Because I believe 2019 has ended
Okay.
and 2020 has started.
Right.
And just as you rightly said that the political pundits are saying, I, as a political worker, also believe that the political temperature is going to go down.
Right.
One reason
Okay.
that the leadership that was behind the bars is outside now.
Right.
So the temperature will go
But that
down.
is not thanks to your party, right? That is not
Yeah, that's
thanks to
thanks to
your
the courts.
government.
I mean,
Let me bring in Kaisar Ahmed Sheikh Saab, sir. This idea that your party and the opposition parties were not in the mood to cooperate or play ball, and now that you have gotten your heart's desire, that most of your leaders are actually out of prison, that's why you're going to play ball now. Is it true?
No, I don't agree with it. You see, from the very first day, we have been advocating, we have been debating that there should be a charter of economy and the things should be having a consensus on various topics, and there should be a debate in the National Assembly. And we are ready, since very first day, we are ready to cooperate for the benefit of the country, and it should be the way. This is the purpose of this institution. And you see, you have very rightly said that this very short notice of less than 24 hours.
Right.
So you see, it is everybody will have object. If they are in opposition, they would have objected to that. It's a very normal thing. And again, then to just promulgate and issue the ordinances, I think everybody will agree to it. It should not be the way.
But,
it should be debated, discussed.
Right.
And I
Kaisar
feel
Ahmed
the
Sheikh Saab,
things.
with your respect, when you were earlier talking about Charter of Economy, I remember your statement in this program repeatedly, and I remember Shehbaz Sharif Saab actually saying it on the floor of the House.
Yes.
But it also reminds me that your parties were not cooperating because you were demanding that the chairman, Public Accounts Committee, should be Shehbaz Sharif. And eventually, after 5 months, it was done. And now he has quit.
Mr. Varug, it was a tradition. You see, so what was new in it?
Is it still a tradition?
Yes, still you have a opposition nominated by the opposition.
Not
person.
opposition leader.
Not
Because
leader.
government was
Of
saying
course
that
not
anybody
leader.
but Shehbaz
Yes,
Sharif.
but he volunteered when the leader himself nominated somebody. So you can say that, but still the
But do you
representation.
realize that everybody thinks that
No,
it
but-
is not only the government which is improvising, you're also improvising.
But the main objection was that of the production order. I think it's so simple. If NAB arrests any member, he should also have the representation of his constituency. That is very basic, and this has also been the tradition. So what was the new when we were asking for that? And when there was a matter of the conflict between India and Pakistan, you remember that we all were collectively in the parliament, and we were on one page. So these are actually issues are not being debated there.
Right.
We
So
should,
very
bring-
quickly, before I go to Shafiq Saab, I have to ask you, are you going to support the government in passing the bill on the army chief's tenure and extension?
You see, it is a major bill. I don't know because still we could not have a debate in our own party. This will be a unified.
Why didn't you have debate in your party?
Pardon?
Why didn't you have
No,
debate
we
in your
didn't
party?
have chance to meet for various days. You see, the session is not in offing. You remember,
The
1 or
party
2
session?
days. Party session, of course, our leader is not here, as you remember. Some of our members went to consult with him, but this is a major consultation. Without all members of the parliament, I don't think that there could be these things could be debated and discussed in detail.
Shafiq Saab, since we were talking about political pundits, let me come to a political pundit now and ask him, do you see that temperature is going to go down in coming days? And do you think that this parliament is capable of passing a bill as important as Army Amendment Act, or bill?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I personally believe this is for the first time both the opposition and the government shown a little bit flexibility to talk on issues.
Okay.
Before that, I mean, the opposition were blaming the PTI government that it is not legitimate government.
Right.
And the treasury benches, they were blaming the opposition as the corrupt people, a bunch of corrupt people. So there was no understanding between the opposition and the treasury benches at all.
Right.
So now these two bills, which going to be debated in the National Assembly and then obviously it will go to Senate. There will be debate. So I believe that the heat, the political heat, it will, I mean, not go down at least for a month or couple of months.
Okay. Do you,
There are many issues, by
do
the
you
way.
see these bills actually taking 1 or 2 months actually in
No,
passing?
no, no, no. There are many issues. Not only these bill. My understanding is that there is a chief of election commissioner should be appointed. There need to be a consultancy between
but
them.
that is an
There will be a
executive-
little bit debate, by the way.
That is going to be an interaction between the government or a leader of the treasury benches and the opposition benches. And it doesn't need the parliament to actually interact.
I know. I
So-
mean, but my understanding is that when these two important bills, these are being debated in the National Assembly, it will take some time. There will be some speeches in the Assembly in favor of the extension. Some of the political leadership may have their own opinion. They will talk. So I think. But there is a high time. I mean, this is the right time that both the opposition and the government, they should sit together and talk about the important bills. They have to introduce bills. And most importantly, for me, is the economic situation.
Right.
They should talk and solve the issues of the common man.
Right.
Because what is my understanding, before the release of the opposition leadership, they were always talking about the production orders. So production order had nothing to do with the population of this country.
Right.
It was just some individual specific. So opposition were talking about them, and the treasury benches, they were speaking very high about the revival of economy in this country, which is unfortunate. So far, we haven't seen it, by the way.
Revival in terms of microeconomic.
Microeconomic, the
Because
government.
on the macroeconomic picture, they are, there is a set of good news that is coming in.
But there is a bad news as well. Like IMF is saying that there was a forecast for 2020 about the growth rate of 3.3%.
Right.
And they have reduced to
Yeah, but
2.4%.
that macroeconomic stabilization or reform and growth don't work together. You have to fix first thing first and then go for this.
But what is my understanding, like I'm not economist, but until the interest rate is high, there will be less chances of economic growth. by
Let
the
us
way.
not wade into the economic side because we can have a separate program on that as well. But Qazi Saab, let me come back to you. This debate on Army Chief's extension, is it going to be palatable? Because in the past we have thought that these are national security issues. And they should be, if there is something unsavory about discussions, it should be kept away from the people's eye. But do you think that this time it is going to happen in front of everybody and then anybody can say whatever they want to and we share the environment the way they want to?
See, Farooq bhai, the problem is that there was an extension given to the army chief in the People's Party government also.
Right.
The same process was adopted. So an extension was given by us also, and the same process was adopted.
Right.
But unfortunately, the courts were pretty proactive about it. They picked up the issue, brought it in the limelight. Now, army is a sensitive institution.
Right.
Just take the example of India. They made their army chief, extended his service tenure by 5 years, made him the CDS, done on the 11th hour.
No, not by 5 years, 3 years.
3 years probably, sorry.
But at this moment, he has been made CDS without a confirmation of the tenure. So they can
Okay.
remove him tomorrow if they want to.
That's perfect. But that is
Not
always
per-
that's
not
always
perfect.
a prerogative with the government. The chief executive of the government can remove the army chief at his will at any time. So there's no stopping to it.
Okay.
But the question is that it was done at the 11th hour, but their parliament understood the sensitivity of the issue, and they did it. Likewise, our parliament, what the problem is that I take the prime responsibility as a government. I say that yes, we have lagged on certain aspects as far as running the parliament is concerned. But when it comes to the opposition, yesterday I was sitting in a program, we were having a debate on the NAB ordinance, And the anchor certainly, and I asked him to ask the PMLN lady that what actually do you want to be changed, or what is your the vision of amendment in the NAB ordinance? She had nothing to say.
Right.
Likewise, very respectfully, Sheikh Saab has just said that they have not discussed the Army Amendment Act so far in their party thing.
Okay.
So that itself shows that if there is some lacking on the government side, there's a lot of lacking on the opposition side also.
Right,
They're not prepared. They want the bills to come. There were 8 ordinance, Farooq bhai, 8 ordinance passed, and they were brought back to the House. They are lying in the committees for the last 2 months. Nothing has been done on them,
Right.
because people are not serious. Only the government side is not supposed
Why
to
are
take
they
this.
not serious?
The only thing that the opposition is focusing on is person specific.
Okay.
There's nothing country specific going on.
Right.
So
But,
when we run the business of the government outside the parliament, then they have an issue with it.
But when the opposition says that at least the apprehended members have the prerogative that they should be produced whenever you are going to pass any law, doesn't actually it mean that you have to actually bring them over? And if opposition is protesting at that time, it becomes really, really bad situation.
Farooq bhai, there are 2 aspects to it. Number one, yes, if some law is being passed, then the production orders are there. And it is, again, it's a prerogative of the Speaker of the National Assembly.
Right.
He has to give the production orders, right? So if a bill is being passed, yes, the Speaker, as Sheikh Saab has rightly said, it's a tradition that he can, give the production orders and call the convict or whoever under investigation to the House.
Not a convict. If you are a convict, then
Sorry,
you cease to be the
so
member
not
of
the
Parliament.
convict, but if you're under investigation,
Yeah,
can
yeah.
be brought into the House. The other aspect is that if Speaker does not deem it appropriate to call that person, then it's his prerogative. And if the opposition feels that Speaker is being unreasonable, they have the open door to go to the court for the legal recourse.
Okay.
But in their case, 5 months were wasted, either in production orders, either in asking for the chairmanship of the Public Accounts Committee. Yes, the government finally decided, okay, fine, we are ready to give it to you. When it was given to them,
But-
they backed out.
but
And now
your-
they've resigned from that.
But
So
your
why were
government
the
actually
important
does
5
something
months
very
wasted?
interesting. Qazi Sahab, your government also does something very interesting. It agrees on something, a concession, and then immediately the news is that the executive or the leadership is very unhappy with this concession. The moment it happens, it creates a kind of paradox, does it not? For example, Public Accounts Committee chairmanship was given to the man they kept on demanding. Next day, the news was that the Prime Minister, or at least the leadership, is not happy. So either do it or don't do it.
No, listen. The thing is, Farooq bhai, that it was done because opposition wanted it to do, because opposition thought that it's a parliamentary tradition that it's done this way.
Right.
We were not in favor of that. Our stance was that someone who is under interrogation by NAB on different corruption charges
Right.
is not liable to become the chairman of the. But then, to run the business of the House, we compromised. So if we compromise and we give someone another chance, that does not mean that we lose our right to speak out the truth.
Right.
So we were speaking out the truth at the same time. Our leadership was showing that the thing that they're not happy with this,
Right.
but to run the business of the House, it was done.
Sheikh Saab, your response, sir? Because many things were said.
Yes, many things that it's so simple, you see. The government should initiate whatever they like. They should bring all these bills in the House.
Right.
And then if the opposition don't cooperate, then they can have objection.
Right.
But up to now, not many bills have been brought to the House.
Many bills are actually lying with the standing
Yes,
committee.
and I tell you,
where you
even
have
in-
presence.
Even in the standing committee, I'm a member of the standing committee of finance.
Yeah.
All these, like this NAB amendment. Now, nothing has been discussed in the standing committee. They have the chairman. They
No,
have the
it has nothing to do with the
prerogative.
finance
Whenever
standing
they,
committee.
Right.
whenever they
Finance,
like.
by the way, is one of the leaner
Yes,
sides of
exactly.
the picture.
Okay.
Because
Of
you have
course.
passed some bills on finance.
Of course, but many bills are pending. No? All
Right.
these NAB things are pending and they never discuss. And even in Public Account Committee, I don't know what are the, how much of these bills have been debated.
Right.
Now the thing is that on opposition, I don't know what is the objection. Always they have been leveling charges that the opposition is corrupt. I don't know, they don't like to themselves that the bills should be passed
Right.
and there
But
should be
here's another test,
some
sir.
understanding between, you see, always there is in the parliament, I had been a member since last 22 years,
Right.
you see the treasury benches and the opposition talk and discuss, and there are some flexibility.
Right.
So throughout my programs, I have been telling it is in the interest of the country if we cooperate and find some solution.
Okay, here's the test of cooperation.
Yes, of course, of
Election Commission of Pakistan and the two members of the Election Commission.
Of course.
There had to be a process. The treasury benches, actually executive and the opposition leader had to interact and decide on names. It didn't happen, and the matter ended up in Islamabad High Court. There, Islamabad High Court actually gives you a specific time frame to actually resolve the crisis or issue. And surprise, surprise, exactly at the very end of that tenure, your party, actually opposition parties actually go to, once again, to Supreme Court and stall the process. So you're not talking to each other, you're not cooperating.
Yes, I agree
You're
with you.
going to the
It
courts.
should be, I agree with you, it should be on the both sides. You see, we should find, it's the country, we are same people of this country. We should think about the benefit of the country. And all aspects, whether it is economical or some legal matters, you see, these are very important things. And without the consultation, without the discussion, these cannot be resolved. You can issue ordinances, but you cannot find solution. You see, all the members of the parliament, they represent the people. And they are sincere to the country. And I think there are some minor points. I don't feel that all the points should be having so much differences. Had we discussed with us, but you see, on production order, smaller things like production order, like the chairman of the committee.
Kaisa Sheikh Sahab, production order is your prerogative, or is it a concession given by the speaker?
No, it is not the concession. Always you see, you can
Is
see
it a written law or part of the bylaws?
it's a prerogative of the speaker, but it has the speaker has never used against it. Always the tradition. You see, tradition is very important role to play. So
because
you
in
see,
the past you
courts-
had two parties actually ruling the country, one sitting in opposition, People's Party or PMLN, the other one, the so-called ARD alliance. Now a new factor has come in. So you have to actually come to
I
terms
agree.
with that. as well.
I don't object. My point is, if I represent a constituency, there are 800,000 people for whom I have to pursue their matters.
Right.
So if I am not in the house, cannot be allowed to come into the house, how can I put, what is the logic? What is the reason of my becoming a, you see, member of the parliament is independent. He has to play his own role. He, in this parliamentary system, the National Assembly member has its own importance and significance.
Right.
If you deprive that right,
Right.
that is the depriving of the right of the constituency.
Right. Shafiq Ahmad Saab, after this discussion, how do you see a possibility of some breakthrough between the government and opposition? I say it because there are many pundits that actually suggest that somehow the reason why there is so much heat in the system is not merely because PTI refuses to talk to the opposition or opposition refuses to talk to the government, but it is primarily the matter or the fight is within the parties themselves. For example, in PMLN, there is a competition between Maryam Nawaz and Shehbaz Sharif. And in People's Party also, it seems that the children of Bhuttos and the family of Zardari, especially the sister of Asif Ali Zardari, they have some kind of deadlock. That's why they don't have the kind of breakthroughs, and that's why we don't have any clear direction of political parties. What do you say on that?
That is 100% true. What we have seen in the long march of Maulana Fadlur Rahman, the opposition made some promises, but what we have seen, what happened to the dharna or the long march of Maulana Fadlur Rahman, it ended with nothing because opposition made some commitments, but they were not on the same pages.
Right.
So what we have seen, there was a little bit rift among the opposition parties, and that was in advantage of the ruling Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. So, I mean, the time has come. Like I personally, I request both the opposition and these ruling parties they must talk on the issues. Because they have to do a lot of work, especially for the PTI. They are for the first time in the central, and they made a lot of promises. They will make changes in different system. They were always talking about change in the system. And how you will change the system. You have to put up bills in the National Assembly for the debate, and there should be consensus among the opposition, and opposition should not only criticize the matter, they should also give suggestions.
Right. This is about the parliament, and I'm at least glad because past year I've continuously talked about parliament not doing anything. And
Yes.
finally, this year starts with the parliament doing something about
Something,
it.
yes, that is positive.
But
yes.
regarding the leadership crisis within the opposition parties, how to actually fix that problem? Because you need to have more than one parties in the system. And right now it seems that the two parties that could have done anything from the opposition side, they internals actually keep on fighting among themselves.
Yes, that is true, exactly. What we have seen, it's an open secret. Like there is one group led by Mariam Nawaz, and the other group is
the
led by...
hawkish and the
Yes.
dovish groups.
So these are the two groups, and this is, even Sheikh Saab know about it. There are groups, if they don't admit in
I
public,
mean, he will not agree. He's shaking his head, but
Yes.
he's smiling also.
but he knows about it.
And we can ask
No,
him
no,
which group is he
I
from.
must. This is only
He is a dove.
Now, only the media, the media is advocate. I have really, I tell you, truly, I tell you, whatever, if there has been some strength in it, I never noticed any differences between the
Sheikh
parties. We have a regular party meeting. Just let me know. Let me.
Please,
Maybe you are right. I'm not saying that. But at least I don't know. Neither in some discussion in the party, nor I know that who member is with Mariam Nawaz and which member is with Shahbaz Sharif. I don't know. Really, I don't know.
right.
So if I have been in the party, I have been with them throughout all this discussion. Only media, when we come to the TV talk show, these things
Yeah,
are
but
debated.
there was another talk show in which some kind of record was played, a tape was played, right, of a judge and all that.
Yeah.
In that, the body languages, the way both sides were actually trying to, one wanted to leave immediately,
you can say
the
that.
other wanted to continue
Yes,
endlessly.
it is your impression. Yes,
That
might
actually
be,
told you.
Might be, but that was
You are too close to the issue. That's why you might not notice
maybe like that. But I tell you that I never noticed like that. But
Right.
you see, up to now, the government never liked that there should be debate. You see.
Right.
It is very clear they came for accountability. Their main issue was accountability. They have been leveling allegations on us that we are corrupt. They felt us.
Right.
So, but the thing
the
is,
positive thing-
just one moment. Just the thing is that from 108th corrupt country, we became 111th corrupt country in 1.5 years.
Okay.
So it is a factual position. This is the Amnesty International. They gave these figures.
You
And
realize
still-
these are actually a subjective number of figures because they are actually conducting surveys rather than actually coming
but,
up with some
whether there is some significant evidences that the corruption has been reduced.
Yeah.
You see, had there been some increase in the revenues, where can you prove that there has been? I feel, I represent the business community and I have interaction with them. I strongly feel that the corruption has been manifolded. It's my impression.
Okay, that is quite interesting. But since Qazi Sahab, I'm bringing the matter back to you, I have to actually point out the matter of contradictions. You know, I don't know how does your mind work or anybody else's mind work. My mind actually performs optimally when there are less contradictions, right? And in the system, we see a lot of contradictions. For example, on one side, you are talking about lowering the temperature, right? And people being freed from the incarceration. On the other side, you have also brought in this NAB amendment bill, right? That is quite significant. On the third side, if there is a third dimension to it, I mean, the Prime Minister says that there will be no let-up in accountability. Now, try to reconcile all three positions and tell me how do you plan to move forward?
I think we are mixing up the situation here. The accountability process, Farooq bhai, that will continue.
Okay.
And
Which is, by the way, not in your hand. It is with the NAB.
it is with the NAB.
Okay.
But we have empowered the NAB, right? Now, the other thing is that we have brought in the NAB amendment ordinance, and that basically focuses on the business community. We had to give confidence to the business community that they are free to work.
Okay.
Because the fear that was there, nobody was coming out. Just as Sheikh Saab has rightly said, people were not willing to invest. So basically the whole economic situation had came to a standstill.
Can I
So-
can I point out a fourth contradiction in the system? You want people to invest, and that's why you're bringing in the incentives. On the other side, your interest rate is 13.5%.
No,
How are you going to convince people not to make money in the banks
Farooq Saab,
and to bring it to the field?
We have to understand that the interest rate is directly related to the inflation.
No, not directly,
So
indirectly.
first we have to control the inflationary process. Only then can we bring the interest rate down.
Yeah, but
so-
with due respect, when you raise the interest rate, you are not actually curbing demand. You are curbing supply.
You're right.
And that is an artificial way of fixing inflation.
Inflation, that's true. And
Yeah.
when they reduce the interest rate, inflation will go high.
Right.
This is
But
very natural.
if I'm a businessman,
I think I-
and if
I
I have
disagree
money,
with this.
why
If you are increasing the interest rates, technically you are stopping the cash flow in the economy.
Yeah,
right?
supply side.
So when you are controlling the cash flow in the economy, you are basically trying to control the inflation.
Yeah, but
because
the
if
demand
too much
hasn't-
money is following too many goods,
Yeah, but
so
demand-
that basically brings
No,
in the
hang on,
inflation.
The demand hasn't gone down then. So that means, people, if I'm a owner of money or a wealthy man, no business gives me assuredly 13.5%, 13.75% of profit, right? So I will bring money to the banks. Why will I take it to the business?
That is true.
And
Again,
moreover,
if
it's a
we-
cost,
if we are-
cost,
if we are-
uh,
Farooq,
cost
if I want
push.
number two-
You
if we are
see,
keeping
it's
this-
a cost push inflation
Yeah.
because
This
if you have 13.25%, and then
look,
there has
let
been
me
a
make a thing
there
clear here.
there
Since
has
now
been a
we have gotten into the economic
yeah,
discussion.
there has
One
been a
says.
devaluation, huge, massive devaluation.
Yeah.
You see, in our economy, import factor is very big. 25% of our economy, because
Yeah.
60 billion is import, then if you add duties, it will become 80 billion
Okay.
dollar. And out of 300 billion, 80 billion is imported factor.
Right.
And that has been devalued by 30 to 40%.
I have to-
So
I'll
that's a
tell you.
cost push
13
inflation. You cannot control only
Right.
with the interest rate.
Right.
The theoretically, that a higher rate of interest should control the inflation. But this is not valid in our economy because most of
Right.
our economy.
13.75 means that someone
25, I stand corrected.
whatever it is. So someone who is basically lending money from the bank has to pay this interest to the bank, right? Someone who is keeping his money in the bank is not getting this much return. That return is around 7%,
No,
around
he's
7%
getting this
something.
return. If I borrow, I have to pay 15%. But
You
if
have to
I
borrow 15%
Yes, if
by
I
the year.
deposit, I can get this rate. It's a public.
that
many
becomes-
advertisements in the newspaper.
So,
So,
this
so
you
that
have
means
to,
that we're getting 13 point some % return on the deposits that we are keeping
Yes.
in the bank.
know,
some banks,
amazing
some
thing.
12%, some 13%, depends on the bank and the client.
Yeah.
Also, which bank
Shafiq
is
Saab, I'm
very,
coming-
if bank
coming
is
to
very
you in a
strong,
bit.
I think,
they may pay.
But Qazi
12%.
Saab,
We
here's
need to
the
discuss this.
fascinating news that all of a sudden we realize that Citibank has brought a lot of money, something to the tune of $1 billion to our system, right? And that was astounding because that money was not being invested anywhere. It had been brought into the system just to earn this kind of markup.
Yes, of course.
Right,
Mark,
and
of
that is
course.
astounding. That means you are actually paying them. You are not actually gaining
that
anything.
means that dollar is also, coming inside Pakistan. So that's also a positive
Come
side
in,
of
but
it.
if they deposit there,
Yeah, but
if
if you
they
have to-
deposit abroad,
In
they get
nutshell-
1%.
Well,
You
Sheikh
can
Saab,
count
if they
it-
bring
you
here,
can
they
count
get
it
13%.
as the financial
Sir,
investment that is coming
Sir,
into
he
Pakistan.
has to add something
Yes,
and
sure,
then I'm
sure.
coming back
In
to you.
nutshell, the money is controlled indirectly by the IMF. This is the reality. Everybody knows. If you
Excuse
don't
me.
talk on
Excuse me. Don't go on a tangent here. I mean, I don't want to believe in any kind of conspiracy.
Am I right,
No,
Sheikh
you
Saab?
are very right. You are
No,
very right.
monetary-
Why
You
we
see,
are hypocrite? This is
you-
directly controlled.
How?
You see the
Through Hafiz Sheikh.
Hafiz Sheikh is not head of the State Bank of Pakistan.
Baqir Raza is the head of
He's a Pakistani and he's representing Pakistan
Sheikh
now.
Saab.
No,
I think you should
Pakistani, he is, of
convince
course.
I'm
But the
sorry,
policy-
with due respect, I'm
the
not
pa-
going to...
Sheikh Saab will
Pakistani-
convince you.
Sir,
Very-
sitting in this program repeatedly in your presence when PMLN was being accused of being, with due respect, traitor, I used to actually fight and say that, look, they are Pakistani and they are loyal to the country.
Of course,
right?
Mr.
So
Farooq,
I
my
cannot
point is
ask
very
any...
simple. No,
We're not talking
Mr.
about
Farooq, my
disloyalty.
point is
We're
very
talking
simple.
about the 6
My
billion.
point is that if you have dollars abroad and you deposit there, you can get 1%. If you bring here, then you can convert in Pakistan rupee, you can
Yeah.
get 13.25%.
We can-
And if the Pakistan rupee is stable, then they are getting much more than what they
No,
could have.
I
got.
agree.
So
I can-
more and more come,
we-
as you mentioned,
Sir, we can-
Citibank,
But that's a
Citibank
that's a
brought
different
we
aspect
can
of
debate
economy.
the health of the suggestions given by a neoliberal order or for that matter IMF, but don't say that everything is fixed. Sir, now
Farooq bhai,
reconcile
one thing I would like to add
now
before you say
reconcile the
anything.
4 contradictions that I have given you and tell me how do you plan to move forward. One, NAB amendment. Let me just refresh your memory. Number 2,
Very
people
difficult
being
question.
freed of the prisons. Number 3, Prime Minister telling you that there is going to be no let-up in accountability. Number 4, the interest rates that you have introduced.
So
Now
very-
tell me, how do
very
you...
difficult questions. Huh?
Okay, now let me put another question to you then.
Thank you very much. I am not part of any party.
No, the thing is, so if people are coming out, is it the government taking them out? Or was it the government putting them
No,
behind
but
the
you
bars?
suggested it.
No,
You told
basically,
us
the
that they
NAB
are
was
coming
doing it. So the NAB was doing it, right?
Yeah.
So they are coming out on the court orders. And most of them are coming out on medical terms.
Okay.
So even a convict has come out on that.
Right.
The opposition-
And that means they are going to go back as well.
Yes, they have to.
So earlier in
They
the
have to.
at the start of program, you suggested that the fact they are coming out will actually lessen the temperature.
It is bound to do that because, you know, if once they were behind the bars, the reaction was different by the opposition. Now, if the leadership is outside the bars, the reaction has to be
So
different.
so they are on bail. Someday they have to go back.
Back to jail.
So
Yeah,
when,
So what
when they
happens
will
to
go
the
back,
temperature?
when they will go back, they came out on court orders, they will go back on the court orders, and I'm telling you right now that when they go back, again the temperature will start rising.
Okay.
Because I told you it's person specific, it's not country specific.
Right, right.
So number 1. Number 2, the NAB amendment ordinance, Farooq Saab, we have to understand it's only and only focused towards the business community.
Right.
The basic reason to bring in this ordinance was to basically give a certain level of comfort to the business community that they have to come out and they have to invest.
Especially related to tax-related issues.
The FBR issues and the
Yeah,
and
right.
then
positive, by the way, yes.
yes, it is positive. I take it very positively as a political worker, not as a PTI thing, but I take it very positively as a political worker. Now coming to the third thing that you said, what was that?
There's not going to be any let-up in accountability.
So that will continue because anything above 50 million will be
how do you
will be
expect the
dealt
environment to
strictly with
improve?
the NAB on the same principles by the same NAB chairman.
So how do you expect the environment to improve? Then you cannot expect it.
Sir, the
You
cases,
yourself said the
cases-
opposition is personal.
the cases that have already been placed, those are above 50 million of range. They will continue and they will be continued the way they were being done.
Okay.
So there is there's nothing, you know, no compromise,
Right.
no facilitation on that.
Mr.
aspect.
Farooq, I just tell you.
No, sir, I have another question for you as
Yes,
well.
but for on some discussion
But
on that.
it is part of
course.
what he said.
Okay, I just
Let me highlight that point.
Okay,
He
okay,
says that your entire concern, your party's entire concern has been to save the leaderships and to get them out of prison. And that's why it has been not people specific, it has been person specific.
But
individuals.
He himself said that the courts are neutral and independent.
Yeah, but your party kept on struggling to
you
demand
see,
that
all
their
these-
people be
all these
released.
verdicts were given by the courts now.
Right.
Now my point is I want to clarify his arguments. You see, because they did not have the planning, they did not have the homework, So they only said accountability. Then the whole economy stopped. And because I represent business, I tell you frankly, I have interaction with thousands of businessmen. You see, when all of them stopped investing, and because of the higher rate, because of the devaluation, because of these NAB actions,
Right.
so the people were shy. Now they have done rightly. I support the amendment they are now bringing, but they wasted 1.5 year.
Years.
Right.
It should have been from the very beginning. Their concept that to bring NAB was not the logical one, not
No,
in the
I
interest,
understand,
in
sir.
the interest of the.
Given that you're one of the principled politicians I've known, I have to once again go back to two questions. One is regarding your party's priority not being people of Pakistan, but members of your party.
How
That
can
is
you
one
say-
question.
your-
Is it not true that your party kept on demanding? I mean, you could have paralyzed the parliament demanding inflation be brought down. Instead, you were demanding what? Shehbaz Sharif be brought to the parliament, this or that or the other.
Saad
Hajaz
Rafiq.
should be, yeah.
Mr. Farooq, this was not the main thing. Never it was, never this demand was our main demand.
Okay.
We have been advocating on the people's problems, and no party can exist without giving.
Okay, I'm told
Then,
that
Farooq Sahab, we had two tenures after this NAB bill was given by the Musharraf regime. One was the People's Party government, and then it was a Noon government.
10 years.
Okay, we are 1.5 years late. Why didn't they do it? They had 10 years.
Right.
We
They
did
could
not-
have done it
we
then.
did not-
And-
we
and-
did not
and
have
with
these
due
steps.
respect,
We did not have these steps.
PML
हर एक की पगड़ी उछालना was not our motive.
No, sir,
You see,
but
that-
with due
that was-
respect,
yes.
Shehbaz Sharif used to do that as well, that he will drag Zardari on the streets, right?
No, but the NAB was not
And-
doing such things, and we were not
And your
leveling
party-
allegations to everyone
I'm-
that he is corrupt and he should, and
have
we will
to-
not give
I
NRO.
think-
I have
all
to go
the
to
cases
Shafiq
were
Saab because
initiated
we have to
against each
conclude
other.
the program. I'm told that I cannot ask
Yes,
any more questions.
what I'm expecting that these opposition and the government, they will sit together to make changes, and they should do something
I
from their
agree.
heart for
Right.
the people of this country.
Inshallah.
Right,
instead of
inshallah that happens.
criticizing each
That
other.
is
But
that
sir,
is the
just
right-
to,
right
Sheikh Saab, I
Positive
usually
note.
don't do it, but in the end I have to leave you with something very interesting. The fact that they haven't been able to pass laws, your party also had to bring protection of Pakistan ordinance because you could not pass it through the parliament of the country, right? It happened during 5 years
Yes,
of
it
your
happened.
rule.
I agree
So
with you.
that-
It
that-
was wrong even at that time, and it is wrong
Right.
this time.
On
Yes.
that note, I have to conclude the program. Kaisar Ahmad Sheikh Sahab, thank you very much for your time. Shafiq Ahmad Sahab, thank you very much. And Qazi Ahmad Akbar Sahab, thank you very much for your time as well. Viewers, you have listened to our participants. One of the many great news that we are going to see in the coming days, or we are expecting to see in coming days. One is that Parliament finally is back in action. Let us hope in coming days Parliament does what is expected of it. On one side, we have seen judiciary actually taking care of its business, and executive keeps on focusing on its concerns. The third pillar that keeps lacking is primarily Parliament, legislature. Let us hope it does what is expected of it. If that happens, this country will go far. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care.